So if we just start even at the beginning, what got you onto this path of medicine in the first place and pursuing becoming a physician?
Well, I think a lot of first generation students have a similar drive, and it's in the fact that my parents were immigrants and they never had an education. They grew up in a war torn country, grew up in famine, and they didn't really have much. So my drive really came, how can I support my family? How can I give back more than I'm taking? As for medicine in particular, the inciting event happened with my sister when she was tossed into the ICU after a really bad case of pneumonia
Mm.
and a seizure. So seeing the fantastic work that the MDs and the physicians are doing, along with the other healthcare staff, really did inspire me to look into medicine. Now, of course, everyone has their selfless endeavors, but truly there are some selfishness involved. I think for me, it's the fascination with the sciences, understanding
Mm.
how the body works, understanding how what we perceive to be as simple actions, how truly complex they are, and how there's so much order in the chaos we see.
Mm. You know, that's definitely a lot there. Because number one, it's like as you mentioned, there's like the aspect of wanting to be able to, of course, like take care of your family and be able to pursue a career and all of those things. And there's an aspect of being a clinician, wanting to care for patients, and then even for you, there's like also just a fascination in of itself of like the science beneath all of that, and kind of all of those like combining together is kind of what I'm getting.
Of course, I mean, end of the day, you could self-sacrifice all you want, but you don't want to be a candle that's being burnt at both ends. There has to be some self-vested interest in what you're doing in order to make sure that's sustainable. Because as much as others have rights. Our body, our own desires have a right over us that we must suffice.
Hmm.
Or else you're just going to end up as a lifeless husk 10 years down the line.
That's interesting. That's an interesting way to word that.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, isn't it?
So I know you mentioned like a lot of things there that really contribute to like the passion that you have for medicine. And one of the things I definitely want to ask you is, how have you maybe seen a lot of your interests that you have related to the medical field kind of show up or almost kind of drive you to specifically where you're at now or throughout? At this point, you've gone through undergrad, you've gone through you're going to your second year of med school. So how do you see a lot of the interests that you've developed in medicine and related to the medical field show up so far in like your journey through medicine?
I mean, with every organ system, a lot of those interests do come up. Starting to decipher how the entire body works, how it's all interconnected. With each subject, there's entire PhDs, dissertations written on it, hundreds of them. This is just understanding like these simple concepts. Like I'll give you an example. Let's take the cardiac system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But just learning from it, just seeing how everything worked, it just like really inspired me. Just look at the genuine precision, how this mass of just like organs and sinew and blood and all that came together to form something that's so marvelous and so precise. So as I'm going through each organ system, as I'm going through each topic, let's say, I'm really seeing a lot of my interests come to fruition. Nothing essentially particular, but just seeing how everything works together is something that I find fascinating.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that. I think that's probably always been one of the most, if not the most fascinating thing about, studying medicine and learning medicine, at least to me, has definitely been seeing just how all of that stuff just kind of like intricately works together and then ultimately allows for like the human function and stuff that we kind of just like take for granted every day. Like we don't even like give a second thought about it usually. And then like actually understanding like all the underlying science behind that, I think is a pretty incredible thing for sure.
Precisely. I mean, what's the saying that you don't know what you have until you lose it, right? So I mean, the sick relate to that the most often, but us as physicians should also too. Think about how complex a simple action such as a sight is, right? The amount of neurons that are firing off, the separate receptors, your eyes as an organ itself, right? Yeah. All this complexity coming together to do a simple action. Every time we take a breath, that in itself is a complex action. So literally, you cannot count all the actions that we're doing. How fascinating that is, how we don't even have to think about it, it's being done.
Yeah. So you mentioned even just like, you just said right there, like you mentioned sort of all the different things that, you're able to learn and you've been able to learn throughout your journey through medical school thus far. And thinking about all the material that you've learned up to the point you've gotten to now, and all the different science and underlying pathophysiology and all the different stuff you've had to learn, memorize, apply, would you say, given the limited amount of experience you've had in med school so far, that you find material in med school being like, would you look at it as something that's like too difficult to manage, or how do you kind of look at how you've been able to handle, the rigor that comes with medical school?
I mean, you and I both go to the gym, but it's just like lifting any weight. You put on 2 plates, you put on 3 plates, whatever have you, and you're pressing that up. The exercise never really gets easy, does it? Right? But you know how to tackle it.